All right. Good morning. Happy race day. How's everyone doing today? Chris Terrell here. I'm with RotoPros.com, dailyfantasysportsrankings.com. I do a weekly article over at Daily Fantasy Sports Rankings that you can check out. It's a preview article looking at the track, what's important each and every race. And then it's usually, this week it was done after qualifying when the article came out, so the picks are coincided with what happened in qualifying. We'll talk about that in just a second. I'm just going to get the article up here and share that in chat for anyone that hasn't seen that yet. So we'll throw that in there. And then I've also got my cheat sheet, which I'm going to share with you as well. Wait for a few more people to show up. Just get some links out here. If you're not a member of either site right now, DFSR or RotoPros, make sure to get over to those sites. We've got free trials on both sites right now to come in and check out what we all have to offer. On RotoPros, we do a members only, it's a Slack chat set up in Slack there. We've got articles, videos, one-on-one coaching is kind of one of the things that we really key towards in that chat. We've got skeleton lineups. We've got the members only cheat sheets, as well as DFSR. You can grab, for NHL, NFL, MLB, and NBA, there's an optimizer. For NASCAR, I have my article as well as my members sheet with highlighted core plays, GPP plays, value plays. Once all that information comes out, I update that information throughout practice and qualifying, so you'll have that up to date. And then I've got a model in there as well, which is customizable. You don't necessarily have to go with the numbers that I've chose for my model. What you can do, and I still don't have screen share working here, but what you can do is just go up to File, make a copy under File in the top left-hand corner of the sheet, and then you can make your own copy and it becomes editable so that you can go in, that is row 3 on the sheet over from columns AZ over to BU is where the model is on the right-hand side, and you can actually adjust those numbers to whatever you think is more important for this week's race. So right now I've got 20% on track history, last 5 races, which is back to the start of 2017. I've got FanDuel average for 2019, so pretty much looking at track history for the mile-and-a-half tracks in 2019, just the ones that use the new rules package, so that pretty much just excludes Atlanta, so it's all the other races combined in there with the new package. So I've got that information in there as well. I think that is important, something to look at, not just track history, not just track type history, because a lot has changed with that package this year and the way they've raced. Morning, Jerry. Morning, Matthew. I guess while we're here, who are your guys' favorite drivers for today? Spit that out into chat. One thing to pay attention to, the qualifying. I'm just going to share this sheet here quick, and then I can move on with my thoughts. So this is the regular cheat sheet. Nothing's highlighted on here if you're looking to follow around. Like I said, if you want to get the members only cheat sheet, you're going to have to get into rotopros.com chat or DFSR. And like I said, if you're not a member, make sure to go check out the free trial. Costs you nothing. Come in, see what we're all about, and pretty sure you're going to stick around. Because on that members only sheet, both sheets have the data uploaded from the qualifying session yesterday. It was very, very interesting call. I'm just going to sort my sheet by the qualifying order here. So yeah, Daniel Hemrick won. I mean, this is something we would see where there was a lot of drafting. We see Hemrick and Austin Dillon up top in qualifying with the draft and stuff like that. But at a mile-and-a-half track, to see the starting order that we got here is a little bit different. So front row, you've got Daniel Hemrick and David Reagan. Probably going to be full fades for me for fantasy. I just don't see either of them staying up front, especially Reagan. And then you got Ryan Blaney, Kozlowski, Kyle Larson, and that's all pretty much normal. Then you got Michael McDowell in there, Ryan Newman, Daniel Suarez, Austin Dillon, and Darrell Wallace Jr. rounding out the top 10. So there's about 6 drivers inside that top 10 who I'm, pretty much going to be fading. I just don't think they're going to be staying there. But what that does do is it shifts the place differential value, which if we go back and look at the last 6 races here, place differential we have seen in each of the last 6 races. This is how many drivers have picked up double-digit place differential here at Kansas in those 6 races. So you got 8 earlier this year, 3 in the playoff race last year, 5 in the spring race in 2018. 2017, we've seen 12 in the playoff race, 11 in the spring race, and then 4 in 2016 in the playoffs. So we've seen as many as 12, and as few as 4. And then, of course, it all comes down to qualifying. So today, I think we're kind of in that range of probably 8 to 12 drivers that are going to pick up double-digit place differential. That kind of really sways the way we go about constructing our lineups today. So I do think you're going to need a dominator. Look at the dominator. So on my last 6 races at Kansas tab is where I am right now. I'm just looking at drivers that led 100 plus laps. So we've got one driver exactly leading 100 plus laps in each of the last 6 races. I just go back 6 races. It could be more. Just kind of narrowing my research down a little bit. I don't feel we need to go back much further than that. Drivers that led 50 plus laps, we had 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, and 3. So we're usually going to see about 2 or 3 drivers that lead 50 plus laps. We're going to see one driver that leads 100 plus laps. It's going to be very important to try and nail down that one dominator driver. Right now, just the way this qualifying turned out, and comparing the speeds in practice, I think, yeah, Jerry, I was just kind of going to go this direction, and it is both Penske cars that I'm looking at as my top dominators right now. They're both starting top 5. They're on the second row, Ryan Blaney and Brad Keselowski. Blaney I like a little bit more. He was 5th in both practices. That is your single lap speeds, single lap times are on the track. And then when it came to final practice, looking at the 10 lap averages, that's where Blaney gets the edge for me over Keselowski. Blaney was 2nd in 10 lap and 15 lap averages, while Keselowski was 6th in 10 lap averages, and then fell off when it get to 15 lap averages. He was 15th there, so he lost quite a bit of speed as the run went on. So if we see some long green flag runs, definitely leaning Blaney here as my top dominator today. So I'm just going to bring up some more information here, and then looking at those 2 drivers specifically when it comes to track history, that's where it makes the decision just a little bit harder. Also considering that Blaney won last week, he's already booked his ticket into next round. So however you want to use the narrative for that, I don't look at it like, oh, well, he's not going to be out there to win. Yeah, that's all he's out there to do now. You don't need points. Points don't matter. He's already in the next round. He's out there to win another race. So I kind of see that motivation for him. But yeah, back to the track history. Keselowski won this spring race here. He was 6th in the playoffs last year. He only led 12 laps this spring, so it wasn't a dominating win by any means. He started 4th. I believe he pretty much ran somewhere in that 6th, average running position of 9th all that race. So I'm not really looking at him too much as a dominator. I just don't see that speed there, but definitely be high on Keselowski with his track history, starting top 5. Usually see guys like the correlation in some of these races. You see some of these fast cars start in top 10. I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt again, because like I said, there's about 4 or 5 drivers that I don't want to say don't belong in the starting top 10, but that's where they're starting. And from a fantasy perspective, I just don't think they are top 10 at the end of the day, which has me a fade. I mean, if they're just outside the top 10, we can maybe consider them because they're not going to lose a whole bunch of place differential. Now, this is mostly for DraftKings. But if you think David Ragan is a driver who's going to finish 20th to 30th place, kind of like looking at his season form, his average finish is 26.2 on the season, 26.4 over the last 5 races. So, I mean, in that zone, if he goes there, you're looking at losing 24 DraftKings points, 12 FanDuel points with him, just for him finishing where he normally does. So, I mean, that's a full fade for me. I'm going to highlight that on the sheet, actually. Hemrick, average finish of 23.4. Last 5 races, 23 over the season, so he's going to be a fade for me too. I don't see either of those drivers holding on to the lead or getting the lead and hanging on to it for a period. I mean, Hemrick could definitely lead, the first 5 laps, just because it is a kind of a weird scenario. But I do see Blaney or Keselowski or both of them coming forward and getting to the front within the first 5-10 laps easily. So that kind of covers those first 2 guys. And then looking at place differential values that definitely stick out this week, going to be super high on Kevin Harvick. He failed inspection 3 times before qualifying, actually 4 times, but the 3rd time was the big one because he was not allowed to go out and qualify and get his time. Automatically starting from the back. He will be without a car chief this week, and he will lose, I think, 30 minutes of practice next week at Martinsville as well. So doesn't take me away from Harvick. I was all over him to begin with the start of the week. Him starting 40th, I actually don't like as much, just from an ownership standpoint, because I mean in GPPs he should be 70-80% owned. He's an elite driver. He hasn't finished outside of 16th here in the last 18 races. He's got 3 wins in that time, and 13th and 12th in his last 2, but first, 8th, 3rd, 1st, 2nd before that. A whole bunch of 1st and 2nds in there in those 18 races as well. So he's really good here. He's starting forward. He's got elite place differential value. He's got a fast car. Practice, he was 22nd in 9th in opening practice, 2nd in final practice, and then top 5 in both 10-lap and 15-lap averages. So it looks like he's got a good long-run car. I could see him getting up inside that top 10 easily before the end of the first stage. And then, you know, a few little strategy things, a good restart here and there, and I think he could be up, you know, and even possibly lead some laps into, you know, mid to end of stage 2 or into stage 3. So he kind of gives you that double dip of place differential along with some dominator value there as well. I blame Busch Beer for my horrible picks. Don't drink Busch Beer Sunday morning before you make your lineups. Wait till your lineups are set and then just start chugging. That's my advice for today. Life advice from Chris Durrell. Okay, so moving on, talking about place differential value, I think that Kevin Harvick being cheaper on DraftKings by $400 than Kyle Busch, starting 40th with that elite place differential, I think opens up some pivots. I think we can possibly get Kyle Busch at maybe outside top 5 ownership value this week. Some of his lowest ownership maybe for the season just because of where Harvick is, being that he showed speed in practice. I don't want to say Kyle Busch is going to be low owned at all. I'll take it if he's outside the top 3 in ownership. Like I think obviously Kevin Harvick is going to be right there at the top of the ownership. I think Joey Logano's got a good chance to be 2nd in ownership, starting 29th. He's under 10K on DraftKings there as well, starting 29th, 5th and 15-lap averages in final practice. So he's been good here as well. So I think that's kind of number 2. And then where number 3 really falls, I'm not sure. I think Denny Hamlin could be there, being that he's cheaper than those guys. He was at 3rd and 4th in 10 and 15-lap averages in final practice. So he's got that speed. So if Kyle Busch falls outside that top 3 in ownership, I really like the spot for him for GPP formats. He's starting 18th. He's definitely looks like he's got a top 5 car. He struggled in opening practice. I didn't like the car at all. He almost hit the wall actually him and Jimmy Johnson were pushing it, trying to run the top lane and see what was going there. They got really loose. So his practice times were pretty much shit in the opening practice, 22nd. But then he came out in final practice. They obviously made the right adjustments. He was 7th, fastest lap out there. But the 10 and 15 lap average is what stood out. He was the fastest in both of those. So it looks like he's got a very good long run car. So I definitely think he's a top 5 car this week. He hasn't won in a long time. I don't want to say he's going to be pushing it for a win just because he looks like he's in pretty good spot to be able to get into that next round as long as he doesn't do something stupid today. But I could definitely see him getting the win. He's kind of picks to win. Kyle's right up there at the top for me. I think Harvick's got, you know, a tough job coming from 40th, but like I said, I think he's got a chance to get up there as well. They both got long run cars, really fast cars. And then you get talking about Denny Hamlin, which I talked about. He started 23rd. Another driver that's going to give us some place differential value. He's top 5 in 10 and 15 lap averages. So it looks like he's got a top 5 cars there as well. So he could possibly get up and lead a few laps. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to lead 50 laps, but he could get up there, lead you 10, 20 laps, get you 15 to 20 place differential points there as well, which is elite fantasy value. So building lineups is going to be tough today. You really got to nail those. I'm probably going to end up going, don't play cash, but for GPP today, you're probably going to want 3 place differential guys. But you are, you know, it is going to be very easy to build a place differential lineup with there being so many values this week. But you're going to need that dominator, like I said. There's been one driver that's led 100-plus laps in 6 straight, and 2 or 3 drivers that have led 50-plus laps. So if there's 3 drivers that lead 50-plus, you're probably going to need 2 of them, maybe even all 3 of them in your, you know, if you're going to win a GPP this week. And like I said, concentrate on the guys that can possibly give us both place differential value. So those are obviously guys starting back in the pack, but then look for those same guys that are fast, long-run cars that could possibly get up front in stage 2, stage 3, and lead some laps as well. Kind of double dip on the points there. Those are the guys that are going to get you the most points, I think, lead you to GPP wins today. So going down, I mentioned Joey Logano starting 29th. He was 17th in 10 lap averages, but then moved up to 5th in 15 lap average. So things kind of got better for him. So definitely going to be looking at him here as well. I mentioned Keselowski. I mentioned Ryan Blaney, another driver really like Kurt Busch. He's starting 15th today, so it gives you a little bit of place differential. I don't think he's much more than like an 8th to 10th place car, so it's like a 7 bonus points for place differential value on DraftKings there. But it did show a fast car. He was sixth and third fastest laps in practice 1 and practice 2, and then in final practice he was 9th in 10 lap averages, 6th in 15 lap averages. So he's got looks like he's got a top 10 car. So I'll definitely be looking at him. Love it even more on FanDuel, where he's only 9,200. Which is, I believe, about 13th in pricing. So really like it there. So there's a few different ways you can go with lineup construction on FanDuel. It was quite interesting because you can go a stars and scrubs route, or you can really build a nice balanced lineup and try and look for 5 drivers that are going to make it into the top 10 at the end of the day. So a little bit more open there. On DraftKings, I really think you need to concentrate on place differential a lot more. So a lot of my lineups, I'm going to start with like I talked about Ryan Blaney being my top dominator right now. So say like a Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch. I'm really trying to grab a guy in the 9K range or high 8K range, as well as one of those top tier drivers as well, and put them together. Bowman and Chris Buescher keep finding their way in my lines. Curious on your thoughts when you get there. Yeah, for sure. I can touch on that right now, actually. I'm just going to bring up their information. Bowman, Buescher. Yeah, so first of all, when it comes to Bowman, I think he makes more of a GPP play. I was higher on him earlier in the week when I was writing up like track history information and stuff like that in my DFSR article. He finished 2nd here in the spring, 9th in the playoffs last year, 18th in the spring in 2018, or sorry, in spring of 2018, and then in back in 2016 when he was with Hendrick there for a short period of time, wasn't full-time or anything, he finished 7th in that car. Excuse me, getting a bit of a cold here. So with 4 races with Hendrick Motorsports in that number 88 car, he's finished 7th, 9th, and 2nd, and 18th. So he's been very good here at Kansas. He's been very good overall. Like looking at some playoff form here, I've got that up. So the first 5 races of the playoffs. Right now, he's got the 11th best average finish in the playoffs, 6th, 23rd, 2nd, 3rd, and 37th. So the Talladega race where he crashed out really hurt his average finish. So I'm not really looking at that. That's kind of an outlier. Talladega is a whole other beast altogether. But outside of that, he was 3rd at Dover, 2nd at the Roval, 6th at Las Vegas, 23rd at Richmond, and his win this season also came on Chicago, which was one of these intermediate tracks with the 2019 rules package. So definitely stands out. What bothered me a little bit and really pushed him down my list here this week, he is top 10 in my overall model, but he's starting 16th, which isn't too much of a concern, but he hasn't really shown him, a bunch of speed in practice. They got some adjustments to do to really prove that they're going to be another top 10 car this week. Excuse me again. 21st in opening practice, 15th at practice 2, and he didn't run a 10-lap run in final practice, so he doesn't have any long run speed, so it's kind of an unknown with him. So definitely GPP. He's got that upside. He's proved that upside all season. And then you mentioned Buescher. So with this qualifying, the way it happened, it really condenses the value plays this week. Like for instance, you start going down into that mid 7K range in DraftKings. You've got Daniel Suarez, Ryan Newman, Austin Dillon. They're starting 7th, 8th, and 9th. That isn't where I ever look for a driver in that range of this quality to start. It really puts you it doesn't give you any place differential upside whatsoever. Even with Newman, he's been very good lately, but he's been, let's look at the last 5 races here. Where are we? Average finish of 14.2 with 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s. So he does have 2 top 5s in the last few races. In the last 6 races, sorry. Excuse me there. So he would be my best bet, but still only GPP only. He didn't show anything better than 14th speed in practice. He didn't run a 15-lap run in final practice. His 10-lap average was 19th best. just didn't show a bunch of speed. Daniel Suarez showed a ton more speed. 3rd and 9th in practice, 13th and 10th in 10-lap and 15-lap averages in that final practice, but he started 8th. So it take a lot for him to finish at where he's at or better than that. Same with Austin Dillon. So that pushes us to, I know this is very long-winded, but I just kind of want to put all the pieces together. That's what I'm really trying to do here, is just put the lineup construction pieces and how I pick out my player pool and the whys. I really want to answer the question why I'm targeting this guy or why I'm targeting this zone or why I'm building my lineups in this manner. So bear with me. So with those guys, and even Daniel Hemrick starting 1st, Darrell Walsh Jr. starting 10th, Michael McDowell starting 6th, even go up a bit, and you've got Jimmy Johnson, Almirola, 12th and 13th. I'll touch on them in a bit. But that pushes us to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting 19th, Paul Menard starting 22nd, Chris Buescher starting 26th. Now, of those 3, I really like Stenhouse's upside. He was 16th and 6th in practice, 11th best 10-lap average in that final practice. So I'm kind of looking at him. Let's bring up some more track history here. So starting, his last finishes here, let's go back 8 races. 11th, 20th, 11th, 29th, 11th, 19th, 13th, 13th. So starting 19th, he's finished at or better than his starting position in 6 of those 8 races with top 15s 5 times. So I definitely like Stenhouse here in that range. Some people might be off Buescher a little bit just because of the practice speeds. He's starting 26, which I like, over the last 6 races. Or sorry, in the 5 playoff races, he's averaging he's been down a little bit, 24.6 average finish, but he's had a solid season altogether. 17th and 27th in practice. So he had kind of one good practice and then fell off a little bit, didn't have a 10-lap run. But looking at his track history, he's been very good here. 10th and 16th in his last 2 races. And then 34th, 6th, and 18th. Those are all his races with JTG Doherty in the 37. That's his 5 races here at Kansas with that team. So I honestly think that he is somewhere in that 18th to 20th place car, starting 26th. I love the value for him this week. I've got a lot of exposure to all 3 of those guys. And I'd probably rank them right now, Stenhouse, Buescher, Menard, of those 3. And then I think maybe a more popular play, at least on FanDuel, is going to be Matt Benedetto, starting 27th. He hasn't been that great here, but he's only 6,000 on FanDuel. I think a lot of people will tend to go there because, that's lower than Buescher, Menard, Stenhouse. That's right around that Daniel Hemrick zone on FanDuel. So I think a lot of people may go there as well. Kligerman. Yeah, I'm not personally not going any lower. I've built about 20, 25 lineups so far on both sites, and I haven't, especially on FanDuel, I haven't really had to go down. I've used Benedetto as the lowest guy I've used, but I do have a lot of Buescher, Menard, Stenhouse. 2 of the 3 of those in a lot of my lineups get me 2 or 3 of the top guys. Your Harvicks, Hamlins, Blaney, Busch. Those guys. I've got a lot of Eric Almirola. He's ranked 5th in my model. He was really fast in practice, 2nd and 10th. Didn't really show that long run speed, 12th and 14th. I think they can probably figure it out and somewhere, get in somewhere in that 8th to 12th place car at the end of the day, which I will take at 8,200 on FanDuel, a little bit more than 7,800 on DK because we're really looking, like I said, looking for that place differential value. But as for Kligerman, he's starting 32nd. He's 36th and 31st in practice. He was 27th in 10-lap averages. He was 20th in 15-lap averages, so there definitely was that. And I'm just going to go look to see how many drivers. I'm going to open up my practice tab here. How many drivers actually ran that 15-lap run in that final practice? Yeah, so there was 20. So I'll definitely do that on my sheet. If you're using my sheet and you just see that, okay, this guy was 20th in 10-lap averages, that's awesome. He's a min-price guy. Go to the practice tab, go over to that practice 2 where it lists off the 15-lap averages, the guys ranked, and he's 20th. So, you start breaking it down, you see guys, the big gap here, Darrell Walsh Jr. was 18th, and he ran a 31.304, Ty Dillon a 31.389, and then Kligerman was a 31.898. So there's quite a bit of gap there. Even just going from Ty Dillon to Kligerman in lap time. So that 20 20th in 10 lap averages and 27th in 10 lap averages in that final practice. I'm not really looking at a whole bunch. Even look at that 10 lap run. Ryan Preece finished 26th, and he at a speed of 172.527 mile an hour. Kligerman in 27th, only one place below in last. He was the only other driver to run a 10 lap run, was 169.478. So there's like 3 miles an hour difference between them. So just don't always take that 10 lap average, and that's why I don't really put that into my model, as you'll see. If you're really looking at the model, I did look at the 10 lap in final practice just to kind of see where the model took me, but I ended up taking that off. Place differential is definitely going to be key for me here this week. So yeah, back to Kligerman. I won't be on Kligerman myself starting 30. If he was starting 36th, 37th, back to 40th, I would probably consider it, but I don't see him at 32nd. I see him more like a 35th place car. Season, he's looking at 34.4 average finish and 28.7 average finish. Oh, sorry, I'm the wrong line there. Kligerman is a 20.5 average finish over the last 5 races. So that's only 2 races, mind you, and I'm going to bring those 2 races up and just kind of have a look at what they were. I'm not, I wasn't really high on Kligerman to begin with. So Charlotte Road Course, he finished 26th after starting 40th. Talladega, he started 32nd, finished 15th. So not looking into, those are both kind of out there, off, outside the NASCAR box. So it's not really comparable to what we're going to see here at this 1.5 mile track. So definitely not going to be on Kligerman. And like I said, most of my exposure to value is going to be in that Stenhouse, Menard, Buescher range. I'm not really going much lower than that this week. Ty Dillon or Ryan Preece in GPP? That's tough. I am not really a fan of either. Definitely not Ty Dillon starting 24th. I don't really want a piece of that, him starting 24th when there's other guys out there. He's got a 24.2 average finish here over the last 5 races. He's got 6 career races here, 26th, 14th, 16th, 38th, 25th, 28th. So only twice has he finished better than his starting position today, and that was back in 2017. Definitely, that was one of his better years. Things haven't really been that great for the 13 car this year, so I'm definitely not relying on that. Preece, I believe, I just want to find that, but he is in Chris Buescher's backup car because there was an accident on the way to the track and the car got wrecked, I think is how that worked out. Yeah, the hauler carrying his car, it caught fire and wrecked the car. So I mean, he's in Chris Buescher's backup car, so they don't have a lot of time. They've just got the 2 practices and the qualifying, putting it together. He is starting 28th, which I do like a little bit better, but they showed nothing in practice. 32nd and 30th, and then he was just ahead of Kligerman there in that 10 lap averages. So I do not see him finishing better than his starting position. I think he's probably more in that 28 to 32nd range. So I won't be on either. So didn't really give you a real great answer there. I know you want one of them. I guess if I had to choose, I would probably go Ryan Preece just because you get that 4 extra place differential. But the practice times weren't there. Dillon showed a little bit more speed, but I would go Preece of those 2 for sure. So getting close to the 30-minute mark here, just going to wrap things up. Got a bunch of NFL lineups to make as well as finishing off the rest of my stuff here as well. When it comes to NASCAR, I'm going to be running about 30 lineups today. I want to get exposure to the place differential guys, and there's so many, so that's kind of why I'm doing a few extra lineups here this week. So if there's no more questions, so yeah, I guess if I had to rank, let's start at the top, and I'll do, let's say, my top 5 drivers ranked in order that I'm probably going to have exposure to. We've got Harvick, Hamlin, Blaney, Kyle Busch, and Kurt Busch, I guess, would be the 5. Those are the 5. I've got them marked green on the sheet. Those are going to be my top 5 that I'm going to have exposure to in the top range. And then I really dive down, like I said, I ranked them Stenhouse, Buescher, Menard, DiBenedetto as my value plays, and then some GPP plays that I like kind of in the middle. I do like Bowman. You mentioned him. He's been solid. I think people may be off of him just because of the practice times. Eric Jones, I think, could be a sleeper. The Toyota teammates have been good, so I think he could be up there as well. A lot of people, I think a lot of it's going to be stars and scrubs. You're going to see a lot of lineups with Harvick, Hamlin, Logano getting that place differential value at the top, even Kyle Busch, and then Blaney, Keselowski there as well. Even Kyle Larson started 5th, although he didn't show the speed. So I think there's going to be definitely Stars and Scrubs is going to be the way to go this week. So that does open up some GPP in the middle. Like I said, on FanDuel, I'm going to have a lot of Eric Almirola, just because I think he's going to be like 5% owned. Fords have been fast. He's been decent here and going to be a bit overlooked. So other than that, I'm not really going, like I said, lower than the Stenhouse Menard Busher. Best QB, okay, so got an NFL question here. Best QB this week, PPR. Well, the PPR doesn't really matter for that. I'm just going to open up my NFL sheet here quick. Week 7 NFL sheet, of course, it's down the list. So right now I've got a lot of exposure to, I mean, I think you're talking season long, but DFS, the quarterbacks I'm looking at, kind of the same thing when I rank my quarterbacks. I love Kyler Murray today. Both quarterbacks in that game, to be honest with you. Where are we here? Give me 2 seconds and I will give you that answer. Things are just loading up here. Yeah, sorry, wrong game. Yeah, so Kyler Murray, definitely. That game's got a 50.5 total. They throw up more than anyone else in the league. They're the fastest paced team in the league. Larry Fitzgerald's been absolutely solid choice for him in there. Kyler's also ran double-digit attempts in the last 2 games as well, which adds a really high floor, helps out for season-long fantasy as well. And then I'm jumping to the Rams-Atlanta game. Both quarterbacks, elite spots, 54.5 total. Both teams are projected for over 25, 26 points. So you got Matt Ryan, who's thrown for 300-plus yards in all 6 games this season. I like the spot for Jared Goff as well against Atlanta's secondary. I think that game could be a shootout and a lot of passing. So if I had to rank my quarterbacks this week, which I have, I've got them, and I'm going to be changing these ranks around. I also like Josh Allen a lot just because of the matchup against Miami. He runs a lot as well, so he gives you that really high floor. But my top 5 are Kyler Murray, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, Josh Allen, and Russell Wilson. Those are my 5 quarterbacks this week. Oh, no problem in the NFL question. I'm just going to work on that right now. So thanks for joining me today. If you got any NFL questions once the show's over, definitely hit me up in RotoPros chat, DFSR chat, on Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9, or comment below here. Make sure to like and subscribe to the videos. Helps out a lot. Good luck today, everyone.